Continuing where we left off yesterday. Pierre's with us. Hopefully this time the video will hold.
Or be banned or kicked out. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make some tea. And I mean, yesterday's video got like 14 views on YouTube, which is amazing. I don't think it's ever been that bad, but whatever. I think there's like
Ah,
so many vibe coding videos now that I used to be able to get some exposure with the name vibe coding, but now it's over.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
maybe
really
you can
care.
use the you can use Moldbook or open cloud keywords and stuff like that. Maybe you can really
Uh,
attract people with, brand new, we should create an agent that would, define sexy
I
keywords so that you can name your video
I don't know.
very appealing.
I think the most important is just to like publish some blog posts and like write this book in terms of exposure. I don't know. The world's crazy anyway. Um,
I try to put my cat face cam so you can
oh yeah.
maybe just bump your number of view.
Yeah, two viewers. So let me grab some tea and then we'll continue on this. Oh, I should speak into the microphone when I'm on the stream. Um, I'm gonna go make some tea. And man, I fucking hate computers. Now I have this like Zoom overlay that I can't hide. And then it says loading immersive view 0%. The fuck?
Immersive view.
I don't know. I'm just
Like,
gonna move everything to Linux. Like, fuck it. All right, I'm gonna go grab some tea, and then the thing where we left off yesterday was I started this ChatGPT Pro here to create a UI. So Pierre, this maybe will give you an idea of where we left off yesterday.
yeah. Okay.
So I'll be right back. All right. So the bigger context, to put the context here is I did a big refactor on a big code base of mine. I actually merged it this time. So we can go at the refactor that I did, which was conceptually a pretty simple refactor where we're just renaming symbols and concepts basically, right? So I was renaming
Mm.
things like layer to section and parameter to field and but it's an interesting refactor because the code base is huge. JSONs and YAML things are also impacted. File names are impacted. In fact, package names are impacted. And then not only are package names impacted, but the documentation also needs to be updated. So doc strings, variable names. So it makes it a
So
challenging. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, it's pretty challenging. It's like every difficult steps you need to go to kind of judge whether an LLM is okay doing such you know
Um, yeah, and what's interesting about it is that some refactors are very easy to do in a way. Like for example, I'm going to show it live, right? Like so I've been using Claude Code, which is like a little bit faster than Codex. It's also buggy as fuck. I hate it. Um, so I'm gonna switch to say Sonnet just for the speed of it. Create a little demo Go application that uses zero log. So for example, I want to switch logging libraries, which is a big refactor I did in one of our other code bases. So also like hundreds of thousands of lines of code. Um, and and I'm not, by the way, I'm not a Cloud Code expert. It's the first time I've used it in like a year or like whenever it came out first in the alpha. And so moving from one logging library to another is like, it's not that complicated, right? Because it's mostly replacing a certain type of pattern in the code with another. but other than the code, nothing's impacted. Like comments don't really need to
Mhm.
be updated. Um, there's just like a lot of stuff that can be done automatically, and as such, right? Like I'm gonna write this little this little this little test program. It logs. It's great. It does all kinds of stuff. Perfect, right? So now if I want to refactor it and move to say slog as a library, right? We're gonna put this on in Git, so just so that we have like some history. What's going on here? All right, initial commit. Let's say we want to refactor this to slog. So I could do this, right? So far, so good.
Yeah.
You're following me? So this would use the model to like, it will go over the code. It will say like, well, zero log, I can replace it here. And then of course, if you do this on a code base scale, you're basically going to have like, because the code base is so big, millions of tokens basically doing this kind of replacement. The advantage is when there's like complicated zero log constructs, because you can do complicated stuff with zero log, then the model will be able to adapt itself, right? And do like little things like this here. So it's able to do refactoring in the context of what it's doing right now. If that makes sense. Like it's able to be doing
It's not just a pure search and replace. It's just
exactly.
like search but replace with another method or another syntax.
Yeah, and not only that, but it's like able to do intelligent choices, right? Like for example, it's
Yeah,
able to
based
like
on the context. Yeah, it's based on the context. It's not like just like a set or grep or replace, search and replace.
exactly. So it will update the doc strings. It will do like a bunch of like interesting changes, right?
Mhm.
So pretty cool, right? Like this worked. If we commit it, like if we look at the diff, pretty nice diff. We moved from one library to the other. Cool. We can do
Uh, just to ask you a question, do you think within this search and replace that you've just shown us, do you think is it possible that the model look at the files and really find something that could be refactored more profoundly? Do you think it could pop you something like, hey, I know you wanted to replace that by that, but I found a very interesting thing to really refactor by the time we're changing. Do you wish to comply? Do you wish to take a look?
Yeah, so that's one interesting thing, and I wouldn't think of it as search and replace, right? This is like literally reading and
Yeah,
rewriting. It
yeah.
doesn't search; it just like reads stuff in, and then it does probabilistic whatever, right? And
Mhm.
what I find really interesting with LLMs now is we can do experiments at scale, right? It's like I can refactor my entire code base, millions of tokens, with Claude, and then say, okay, well, it's done. It works great, and push it, which is like what we used to do before. But before, such a migration would be like 1 or 2 weeks, maybe a little bit more context of planning. So you
Yeah.
only do it once. But now this ran for like 30 seconds and can be said like, hey, let me experiment with different refactoring patterns, especially on code spaces at scale. And one way I do this is that I start bookmarking things, or like I can do experiment, for example, right? So experiment 001 is going to be straight Claude refactor, right? So I put like a
So
little
you mean
bookmark.
you can test a lot of different refactoring strategies and kind of push in pre-prod and test if it works out best or not. And like kind of within the time frame of a first refactor, you can have hundreds of different strategies tested. Is it what you said?
Yeah, I think what we're doing now as programmers, if you look at the discourse even outside, is we're not writing code anymore, right? We're not talking on Twitter about like, oh, functional programming is great because I can write this kind of code. A lot of
Yeah,
what developers are talking about is like, well, I use the plan mode and then I use this MCP and then I do this and then I iterate and I do review by hand and everybody's
it's
writing like 15
mostly
blog posts.
workflows, right?
Yeah. And
Mainly
so
workflows.
Exactly.
methodologies.
Like we're
Mhm,
moving at this meta level where there's analogies of saying like, oh, now you're like a product manager, now you're like running a team of agents, whatever. Like they're all analogies that kind of don't really fit the picture as such. They're like
mhm,
interesting base patterns to use, right? Because if you think about, if you take the step back from, oh, I write code and then the computer runs it deterministically, but because the
mhm,
model is not intelligent, it will like modify the code in some weird manner. If you take a step back and you're within the context of a company, the way you write code is not deterministic either, and it's also kind of shit, right? Because there is no
yeah,
human. Sometimes there is a human who is able
it's
to.
really good because it's a pure truth, but it sounds really weird to hear it, but it's pure truth. I mean,
Yeah, if you consider a company as a software company at least as a machine that takes human input and outputs software,
mhm,
well, that's what an LLM does, right? It takes like human input and it outputs software. And so you can draw a lot of parallels of what we do as engineers now and comparing it to a company. So, for
mhm,
example, if you are a salesperson in a company, right, you absolutely don't give a shit about how the program is written. Like, for all you care, they could be rewriting everything. The thing you care
yeah,
about as a salesperson is like, hey, what are the cool features that I can use to sell it? Um,
yeah.
or if you're like, the UX designer, then you also don't give a shit about how the software is implemented. You care about certain design patterns, certain behaviors, maybe the fact that it's like faster or uses new technology. Like, you start to get into more technical details. And then if you're running architecture, right, if you're like a staff engineer or whatever, you don't really care about the code either because you can't control the code that 15 teams put out, but you kind of care about
Mhm,
how it fits together. But the
mhm,
process of writing the code is very non-deterministic. Like maybe the intern's sick this week, so someone's taking up the slack, but then, this person has a bad day and like blocks the pull request. Like
mhm.
there's tons of things going on that in many ways are similar to certain patterns you see in LLM programming. Like maybe
So, do you think we overestimate the character of LLM to be non-deterministic, like per
it
se, it's a mess, instead
with
of looking at our own human production that is also heterogeneous, messy, and non-deterministic? Is it what you say?
Yeah, I think if you consider what we as humans want to do, is like we have a little piece of technology, right? Like it can be a phone, it can be a computer, it can be like this little thing. Um, if we stay within software, right? Then what we do as programmers, like, hey, we take some kind of human idea. Oh, I want to turn on my light by speaking, and then we have to kind of make the computer do it. And
Yeah,
as far as like most people care, well, as far as most people are concerned, no one cares how you do it. And
yeah,
even I, as a programmer, you can say, well, as a programmer, I care so that it works, which is like, okay, that's cool. Um, but a designer also would say that. So as a programmer, your only purpose is to like solving little puzzles to actually make this complicated tower of abstractions that we have do it. And we kind of think that we're doing this deterministically, that when I write a certain line of code, that the computer will execute that. But like no one these days knows what the transistors are actually doing when I type some JavaScript, right? So
yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, even if I write my own code by myself in a certain language, everything that's underneath is kind of non-deterministic because A, I don't know it. But if you take a step back and you say like, hey, I'm writing in React, and the React team decides to publish a new version to fix a bug, but it introduced another bug, like that's non-deterministic for me. It's like I have no
Yeah,
idea of knowing what the React team's going to do. And or the Go compiler team, like maybe the new version of the Go compiler is just like super slow, and then that's a big problem for me. But it's outside of my control. So we have a lot of techniques to deal with this, right? Like it's not something new for us to use non-deterministic code writing approaches. It's like, well, maybe we can pin the dependencies, right? Or we can. So I don't know where all of this is going, but the cool thing is that if you take the step back on how we produce software, now we can run experiments that were impossible to do before. Like it was
Yeah.
really hard to say, hey, I want to write a browser and I want to do one version in Elixir and the other version in JavaScript.
Yeah.
Just way too much, way too time consuming. But now we can try it and then start modifying certain parameters. Obviously, it's not humans, but it's still very, very close to how we humans program, because otherwise it wouldn't work that well, right? So I'm going to show you, like, this is a good example of showing you what I'm doing in the bigger scope. So here, for whoever joined us, I have a little program that's using Zerolog to do logging, and then I want to port it, I want to refactor it to slog. And the first version we did, like Claude Code did it. I don't know how many tokens it used to, but it was pretty nice. It updated like the documentation and it did a refactor, but it used, I should have kept a track of the tokens that it used, but
A lot of tokens.
let's assume the first
Yeah.
version was like 8,000 tokens or something like that, or like maybe 10,000 tokens. Now we're at 37,000 tokens, right? For a small code base. Pierre, are you still here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, because your
Still here.
video is
Yeah.
off. Okay, but you're still here, right?
Yeah. I'm still here.
And you turned off the video.
Yeah.
Okay, good. A little bit freaked out by video today. So this experiment was not great. So I'm going to start a new version of Claude Code, fresh, right? And my first experiment now is going to be experiment. Well, like it's straight Claude refactor empty context window, right? Empty context window. So this is my second experiment. Is like I'm going to refactor this, starting from a fresh context window, refactor to use slog, not Zerolog, right? And so we'll see what it does. We'll see how many tokens it needs to kind of find its location. Then we can start experimenting. Hey, rerun it 5 times just to make sure it works correctly, right? Because it's non-deterministic at the end of the day. And this gives us like an idea, oh, how does Claude Code behave when I ask it to do things like this? Maybe there are better patterns to use. So we can start running these experiments where with parallel agents, in this case, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like in this case, I can say run 10 agents to refactor this in 10 different ways, and then look at the results and say like, well, this one took XYZ, this one took that many tokens, this one took that many tokens, and compare it. And so I'll show you some of the experiments that I've been doing with this, right? So I want, yes, allow all edits. We can see we're already at 30,000 tokens here.
When you said, just one question, when you said you have to run several times the same prompt to get the results because it's non-deterministic, do you mean that to have the time? Do you mean that you could take for granted the time that the LLM outputs and just say it's that time, it will always be that time, but in the end it was just an outlier and the time is very longer?
Yeah, it's right. It's like you can try something, say like, hey, I'm using this new MCP to solve a task, and then you say like, oh, it like one shot it in one go. That was great. I will always use this tool. But it could be that if you try it like 9 more times, it never works, and you just got really, really lucky for some reason, or you forget that something was like in its context window, or like that happens for real, right? And
that's very interesting. That's it's honestly it's the first time I hear it. And,
you should. I'm giving workshops. You should attend one day. Because that's one of the first thing I say, right? It's like if you do want to do prompt engineering, you should definitely regenerate like 5 times at least.
It was a really good product placement,
Yeah. So
I liked it.
Should I show that? Like, I mean, whoever. workshopsai.flint.sh, which is
It's a disclaimer.
Pierre's company. You can like book workshops with me. Um, I don't know how much this makes sense, Pierre, overall, because things are moving so fast.
I do
Um,
like the colors.
oh,
So
this webpage looks great.
and
I'm really happy that this it has the Cloud Code thing of like
it's a
four little
kind of
squares, but
uh yeah, it's a kind of Claude 2.5 style UI UX colors. It was a bit of pastel mauve, you know,
yeah, I like this.
and it's neo-brutalism, I think, kind
Yeah,
of.
I remember that was your prompt. But because things are so weird, right? In the workshops, I always just use people should just bring whatever tool they use on whatever concrete programming problem they have right now. And so one of the things I say is like, if you have a prompt that you want to try out, then try it out 5 times. And if it works 5 times out of 5, it's probably a pretty good prompt. If it only works 4 times out of 5, okay, sure. But it could be that you're not lucky, right? And here, I think that
And
would be
like
like a,
one out of two, like 50% is a very what improvable prompt. It's not a good prompt at all, or it's not a good problem
oh,
to ask for a prompt.
it says our Zoom meeting is gonna end in 10 minutes, so maybe I'll have to recycle the Zoom meeting, hopefully.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
or do you have Zoom Pro?
Yeah.
You don't have a professional. Uh,
No. No.
all right. Well, we'll see how it works. Maybe we're just unlucky about all of this.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, what I'm saying is like, okay, you can do it for a single prompt, right? But we as programmers now are more like programming in the sense of if I use this in my cloud code, if I use this in my
Yeah. You mean
XYZ, right?
aggregating good tips and recipes and best practices as time goes by, as you get on the job.
Um, yeah, just trying out like what we're programming is saying, maybe 3 months ago with Opus 4 and the previous version of Playwright, a certain technique didn't work very well. So
Yeah.
we skipped it and we said like, okay, well, when instead of doing this, we wrote like some very careful documents that you have to give the LLM. But it could be that today with Opus 4.5 and a new version of Playwright, we can replace that entire set of documents with a new kind of feedback loop mechanism, right?
Mhm.
And
With
that's
a
what
prompt
we,
and with the new capabilities of the LLM.
yeah, and that takes time, right? Like that's not something the AI can do very easily yet. Like there is
Mhm.
prompt optimization stuff, but like as engineers, this is where the time goes. This is what I
Mhm.
spend my whole day doing is being like, the playwright doesn't seem to work very well. Maybe I should try another technique, right? And this is our new
Well,
engineering.
in a sense, it's a bit of a conductor or a director of probability in a sense and risk, like
It,
evaluating what works, what doesn't work, what might work, what
yeah,
what could work but you cannot afford, or like drawbacks and arbitrages.
yeah. I think if you compare it, like if you take what you just said, like what is done today is like, oh, you can have like an agile coach, right? And an agile
Yeah.
coach is someone whose job is basically, if they're serious about it, right, is like running
Mhm.
experiments on what they're teaching people and adapting what they're teaching people to different situations and like developing this kind
Yeah.
of more rigorous framework that can be applied to the context of non-deterministic software building, right?
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
now we are agile coaches, or like we are not even agile coaches, we're like agile coach curriculum designers, where we can say, hey, it looks, you can tell Claude 4.5 enter plan mode, but if you use codex you have to do it differently for the same
Mhm.
technique. And um, currently we do this in like blog posts and like like agile coaching workflows or AI workshops. But it's hard to reason, right? Like I can read a whole blog post where you explain how you use Claude MD and playwright and you're missing a
Yeah,
lot of details and I cannot
it
reproduce it.
doesn't ring a bell, or it's not the same as doing the things and having the real experiment yourself.
Yeah. And I think what I'm trying to build right now is kind of like starting to develop not just a theory of what writing, writing workflows at this speed is, or testing workflows and designing workflows. And
Hmm.
it's also like starting to design different notations that could be interesting because if you think about code review, right? Like say I have a colleague and the colleague is tasked to write a new admin backend.
Hmm.
And so they work on it and they work on it for 3-4 days and out comes a full admin backend, which I'm not going to be able to review because it's just too much code and I don't think is all that valuable to review anyway. What I want to review is being like, hey, how did you create this? Because I know that if you, for example, used Opus, there's a certain set of things that I will have to check by hand just to make sure that you handled Opus correctly. And
Hmm.
so what I actually care about is like the description of their workflow so that I can say, oh, you shouldn't use Opus to create this kind of widget. I have a workflow with Codex that works much better. Right? Like that's the code review. That's what I want to tell
So
my
in a
colleague.
sense, the code that we were writing on floppy disk, on CD-ROMs, on files that were machine oriented, now it's going to be kind of maps and scenarios of potential workflows that works for a typical case or one use case, or like more of a methodologist or architects, and you climb up the ladder of abstraction in a sense.
Yeah, and it's not new, right? Like we have languages to describe like
Yeah,
business processes. We have tons of books with like software methodologies with little diagrams everywhere
yeah,
and stuff. But now this stuff is getting serious. It's like everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it where every session you have with Claude Code is basically applying one of these workflows. And
uh-huh,
so if a colleague, for example, doesn't know that there's a good workflow for us to design React widgets, right? Which is use this certain tool, use this skill, make sure you use this model, and maybe
yeah.
use this script. Um, then that's what I want to address in the code review. I don't care about the widget per se. I care about how it was built so that the next time my colleague builds a React widget, they'll be able to build it in 30 seconds with robust code instead of spending 2 days and
But that
generating
you
problematic code, right?
realize you realize it's a very big shift in perspective and in point of view,
I,
um, as a worker, like as a software engineer.
I,
It's moving in a terms of identity, professional identity, I mean.
it's, yeah, I think it's a real challenge. It's like everybody has to become a staff
Mhm.
engineer from day one, right? And I think for current software developers, that's a really, really big shift because many people don't think of, oh, the software we build within the context of our company is what I'm doing now. I think this meta shift is going to be really hard for a lot of people, and uh, sadly, that's us, right? Like even me, it takes me a lot of time to think about it. The 16-year-old that starts directly at staff engineer level, they won't know fundamentals and all of that stuff, right? So they will like struggle a lot
Yeah,
being, why does the React not work? And then they'll learn more about why React works this way because they will have to understand not React in itself, they will have to understand the abstraction that is React and what you can do with this abstraction in order to
yeah,
incorporate it into a bigger flow, right? Um, and so I think what we are currently at is if you look back at like mathematics, for example, right, is like currently we're writing about software building this way. Oh, if you have a
yeah,
project, you divide the plan into two parts, and then you do the front end first, and then you do a review with the designer and blah blah blah. Like everybody writes math or like software methodology, kind of like that. There, there's some notation attempts, right? Like what's this thing called? Like especially not in software, but more in like business processes where you have to do things at scale, right? So if you have a company with 10,000 people, you do need to design workflows at a at a at a big scale, right? You have to share workflows with
Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of people outside, and so there's solutions like notation systems like Camunda, which is pretty nice. Man, they have like the most horrible page here because this is actually open source. Uh, man, show me a screenshot. Um, they're doing AI on everything now. Oh my god.
Do you mean like
Um,
the generation that we are the generation who actually is maybe the last one to know how to code per se, because this knowledge is going to be completely um, outsourced to these AI and LLMs,
uh,
and the human expertise will achieve this workflow design strategy,
we're
inputs,
just
outputs, connection, and all that stuff.
I'm cutting
So,
you off because the meeting's gonna finish, so I'm gonna start a new one.
okay, so yeah.
Sorry, I'm inviting Pierre again. All right, so Pierre should be able to join. Um, let's see. Hello, Pierre. Well, in the meantime, yeah, I'm gonna wait for Pierre. We'll see. We'll see what's gonna go on here. I actually don't have the comments open, but like no one's chatting, so that's good. Uh, let's see. I'm sure he's struggling with Zoom or something. Um, but to recap, what we're doing is like we're doing some little refactoring experiments, and in the bigger scheme of things, I have a huge refactor that I want to run refactoring on. So
Air back.
does this work? Yeah, we're back. Um, so I was just telling like we do have some languages. I'm gonna move us up here. I don't know, somewhere where we don't fill the window. What I was saying is like we do have we do have can I ask you to turn on the video, or do you want to turn
Yeah.
it off?
No, I
Thank
just
you.
want if the video is on the video, I
Oh,
just want my face to not be in the screen and like
oh, so you
in
want
the
to turn it
middle
off?
of
I can hide you.
no in the middle of important thing for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I never really know where to put our faces.
Yeah.
Um, so um, yeah, I think there's a lot to be learned from like business processes, right? Where people design processes for companies like Walmart, where
Yeah.
you do iterations and benchmarking and saying like, well, we should change to having like a mid-level manager layer, blah blah blah.
I
And
think one big one was Planisware, I think. Yeah, Planisware. Planisware, Planisware. I think
yeah,
it was a kind of workflow, big workflow management, stuff like that.
yeah, I think this is what our new programming languages are going to look like. Like not that they're going to be visual, but that their purpose is going to be to describe processes of building software instead of like processes of software itself. But I do think there's going to be the same way that there's a bunch of people who work on compilers.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bit a whole bunch of people who still know how to program software by hand, or at least read software by hand, that are going to be building tools for other people to build abstractions upon, right? It's like I could prompt an agent to create React right now, and it like will
Do
do
you
a
think, like, do you really think we will still need like human to, like,
just a,
you
ti-
know,
a tiny amount. I don't know what it's going to look like, but there are certain things that just take time, especially once you start thinking about how do you interface with humans, right? And
mm,
so here it will start to be, or when you interface with hardware, it's like if you have 128 kilobytes
yeah,
of RAM and you want to target that with an LLM, you kind of have to put
yeah,
some effort into it, right? And maybe
yeah,
the LLM will be good enough to do it on its own. But at the end of the day, you still have to decide, do I want one button or two buttons? Oh, do I need to test
mm,
that with users? How is my prototype involving like mechanical engineers? What software can I build for them to do, right? Like there's always going to be like low level stuff when things hit the either the real world or you want to make models more efficient, right?
They think these questions, a lot of these questions could be um, addressed by LLMs, even today in agents today.
Yeah,
I think they
I
could
think so. Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot. And I don't think these assumption of like human kind of moat, because of these questions are uh, kind of we are biased about the questions that we could keep and not being stolen by LLM, or LLM becoming more and more powerful.
Well, let me show you a technique where I think that certain things will just like not will stay very engineering. So to go back to our example, which is like I have a small program that uses zero log and I'm porting it to slog, right? So I did it very naively here, right? Just like prompting the model to do this, which is I think how a lot of people want to prompt the model, right? And because a lot of people want to prompt the model this way, that's also what the model is going to do because that's kind of what's in the training corpus. And also the people who build Claude Code want people to interact with the system this way, right? So there's this whole like human culture of how we build things directly influences LLM to build things this way. And the tools we build with these LLMs who think that we should build things this way, and right, like we all think, oh, you need to plan before
It's like
you,
a, it's like Inception, kind of Inception. In
yeah.
fact, it's a
And
simulation.
I think where engineering comes in is like breaking out of this.
Oh, you're the one that unplugged the matrix.
Well,
You unplugged Neo, or you are Neo. Maybe you are Neo.
so check this out. You kind of know most of my engineering is like just, I don't know, smoking weed and having funny ideas. Um, but so right, we did the
You're the
naive refactor, and it took us like 40,000 tokens, right? For a single Go file, which is the Go file main.go is like 1,000 tokens of GPT-4 tokens, whatever. Um, so assuming those are kind of like in some sense related, it took us like 40x tokens to do it. And you can imagine if I have like a code base that
how
has,
is it possible? How is it possible such a difference?
because it did a lot of shit here to just find its context, right? So there's like
Okay. Okay.
there's
So like a big amount of these 40,000 tokens could be because the model is messed up and it doesn't know where the information, and it builds the context and not
and you know
actually reply.
maybe there's like too many skills, maybe there's like the MCP playwright in there and it like misunderstood something, right? Like so you can do a lot of optimization here saying like, well, if I put it into Claude MD or so, it will work better, right? It did like a bunch of errors here. So one technique I can use besides just like prompting it naively, and if I had a code base of like 1,000,000 tokens, assuming that it will probably be like 10x as many tokens to do the refactor. Like I don't know exactly, right? Um, but it's an experiment I could do. And it's just like, okay, this is not very, very efficient, but this is how the tools want us to do it right now, right? So there is engineering to
And
be
what is
done.
your program for GPT-4? Is a prediction, or
Oh,
it's
this
actually
no,
it's
this is
actually what 1,000 token for
it's using the
like what are you
GPT-4.
comparing? What are you comparing when you compare the left test with Claude, and
I
on the right
it's not the
the
same tokens for sure.
GPT-4?
It's not the same tokens
Yeah.
for sure, but the ratio is going to be staying stable, right? Even though they're two
Mm.
different tokenizers, roughly, it gives me like a rough sense of how complex this is. Um,
Okay.
and so now I can introduce a meta technique, right? That the stuff that people talk about in blogs. So people in blogs say like, hey, after you did a session, write a document to do the session better. Like that's a new pattern, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This kind of auto improving coding agent that will learn from what from the session, from the discussion with the
Yeah.
user.
So that's what I'm doing here. Is like create a playbook to port zero log to S log based on what you learned so that we can skip all of this nonsense, right? Like it did a bunch of syntax errors and then it like corrected itself and like all of these things we don't need to actually
So maybe
run into.
the 10th first thing will be Claude is stupid. Claude is a failure. Claude doesn't
Yeah,
know anything,
exactly.
and then just
It could be that like, oh, for some reason your Go compiler is not configured correctly, and then it spends an hour fixing the Go compiler, and then your context window's shot, and then everything fails, and you're just like, hey, Cloud Code sucks. And you're like, no, your Go compiler was misconfigured. It couldn't figure it out because it didn't have access to that information, and it like went crazy, right? So that's why going back on your session and like kind of thinking about it, what the fuck is this thing doing? I vibe coding on stream is always like kind of weird. Is it failing? Man, do you know what's crazy? This software does literally nothing. What the fuck is it doing, man? Like nothing's happening here.
and it's
It's
30%
2026.
of your CPU. Yeah.
Yeah, 2026, 800 megabytes of RAM, 40% of like a 3 gigahertz CPU. Like, so I don't know what it's doing here. Create a playbook. I'm gonna switch to Opus just for the fun. Like it's missing keystrokes. Like how is this possible? Um, all right, so create a playbook to port zero log to S log based on what you learned. It's writing a bunch of tokens, and so now we can run our third experiment, which is, okay, if I have this workflow and I create a playbook, how much more efficient is it going to be to do it, right? Man, what the fuck? I hate this. And then it's like doing these like cute little words, even though it's like failing. It's like infuriating. I want you to say,
And
I'm sorry.
you cannot see what he's doing right now. There's not
No,
the
I don't think so. I don't really know Cloud Code.
Control R or Command R or Control R.
I'll learn more about Cloud Code, right? But I mean, it's just, I don't know. But now we have like a nice little, like a nice little document that says, oh, we have these gotchas, we have all of this, we have that, which is great, right? I'm going to commit this, say art add playbook to port slog. I'm going to copy it to temp so we can reuse it. And now I'm going to go back to main for my third experiment, right? Quitting Cloud Code. I'm back to zero log. And now I'm going to try, hey, if I give it a playbook, how much better is it going to be? And that's experiments that are, I think, really, really valuable to do, right? It's like, if I do the same prompt, refactor to use S log, not zero log, what's going to, oh, no, sorry. I should tell read It's missing keystrokes. I don't. What? How is that possible to write a terminal software that's losing keyboard shortcuts, keyboard strokes? I don't get it. Anyway, I like
Do you
ranting.
have you updated it?
It's like my
It is
electric
buggy.
typewriter. It's just like it's it's just failing. But so now we can see, right? If it reads this, then hopefully it will be like much faster at replacing things, right? And so now every time I start a new session for my multi-million refactor, I can kind of use the playbook from the previous session or like a compacted session or assist it and like be much more efficient as I go, because I will have this new pattern of, as you do your work, improve a document that describes how to do the work you're doing. Because if in the future I
So
ever have
you're
to,
improving, and you're every time improving, even the things that are in the file,
exactly, yeah,
even the process, like even the process that are known. If something is better, it is it is updated.
yeah. And I think this is what software developers are going to share as the same way we do open source right now. You can say like, oh, like
Yeah,
someone did
yeah,
a
yeah.
project to port zero log to S log.
Because it's very very valuable.
Yeah,
Like
because
these things are very valuable because it can save you a lot of time as a developer, right?
yeah, and I know that this developer has spent hours making sure that this document is good, right? Like that this person has run it like on 50 different code bases to try 50 different edge cases and really make like a really nice document that they spent a lot of time on. Um,
So,
so
but
even if the
it's very
model can,
interesting because we could have a kind of platform with this kind of scripts or diaries or stuff like that with and with
it's it's
the
what
environment, so that people can share their best
that
practices or recipes,
that's what we have
recipes.
now, right? With the plugin marketplaces and the skill marketplaces and all of
Okay,
that, right? But what we're sharing
okay,
here is a skill. We're not sharing the concept of iterating on the output. That's the core
yeah.
abstraction behind it, is like this document was created by iterating on repeatedly running the experiment. So
Mm-mm.
I think we won't really see too much in the terms of token count here. Like I don't think this makes all that much of a difference uh, because it's just a startup. Like it's just too small of a code base to do meaningful experiments. But what we can see is that this one shot it, right? Like boom, no compile errors. It just did it and it was all correct. So huge improvement to before where it was like failing to compile. And of course this makes sense. It's like if you have this document, then of course it's going to be much easier for the model to do it. So this was experiment 3 of reuse playbook, right? Reuse previous playbook, reuse previous playbook, and we can start playing with
It's
that
it's a
ID.
kind of manual,
Yeah,
like the furniture you bought at IKEA. You just a manual for the LLM that just makes it valuable or just like general and useless.
yeah. And so I'll show you the technique that I use that we're going to apply on the on the bigger on the bigger refactor that we're talking about that I've been doing on over the last week, and that now I'm like using as a base for experimenting, right?
Mm.
So one technique that I did is we're gonna reuse this thing here, read this, write scripts to do the refactor. Like that was what I used for the successful refactor that I did. Is like I asked it to
Mhm.
write some scripts and to do things, and it wrote like a bunch of Python scripts. Yeah, dude, I don't know what it's doing here, but I don't think the token counts are very interesting in this experimentation. It's more about what how efficient is it and stuff like that. So now it can create a refactor script. And the cool thing about a refactor script is that even if it's millions of lines of code in the code base, calling the script is the same amount of tokens. So suddenly the size of the code base is going to become pretty irrelevant to the length of my session. The the problem, of course, is that the script can be broken, or it can, right? Like, this is some pretty hardcore approach that's not that great. It will not work on every code base. If you have a new line in between, or you have like tabs, it will fail. Like, it's not a robust refactoring script. Um, but it's something I can spend a lot of time on and make a really good script, and then the next version of zero log comes out and it's broken, for example.
So just to interrupt you 1 second, you clearly you scanned the program, you look at the script, and you found something that is not cool. But you, as a software engineer, I see a lot of people who are just like tabbing, okay, enter, okay, and not reading any line of code.
Yeah,
And
that's because
you
our
said
UI sucks,
you
right?
don't, yeah,
There's code changes that I do want to review. There's code changes that I don't even want to hear about. And there's code changes where I just need a bigger picture than than like a diff. So
yeah.
in this case, right, like this worked really well because it's for our code base, but I do know as an engineer that this is not very robust. And if I had a bigger code base, we would start having these edge cases appear, and then it like starts iterating on the script and doing all of that. And that's indeed what happened in my case, because the code base is so big. Now you can start to have a slightly better context to see this diff. If you look at the diff and all the scripts that it wrote, you can see, oh, it kind of like started going a little bit crazy here on the scripts. Right? It was like, hey, let's rename, let's do moves, and then it was like, hey, let's do this clever thing with regex, and then it was like, well, that didn't fully clean it, so let me try some more things. You can kind of tell the approach is okay, but it was really struggling, right? It wrote like 30 scripts. I don't even know what they do. They're not reusable. There's like hard-coded path in there. It's just like garbage at the end of the day, right? The approach was pretty cool, and I did refactor a huge code base in like 4 or 5 context windows, but this is not great, right? And so in a code review, you could think like, hey, we have to ship. This is as good as any. The model can really start bootstrapping itself from this garbage and do something more reasonable next time. But we don't have time to clean this up. I,
Mhm.
however, currently have time to clean this up. So I'm going to say, oh, this technique of, say, write a script to refactor, it works pretty well, but at the scale of 1 million lines of code base, it's not that great. So here it one-shot it, but as an engineer, I know I don't need to read the code very well to be like, okay, regex are not the right way to refactor code. It works often, but also it's not that great. And that's, I think, the engineering knowledge that you have to develop, even though you don't know the details. I don't need to know how to call sed or whatever, but I need to know what a regex is and what's possible with a regex and why it could fail and why this is not a good idea or why it's a good idea. And this fundamental knowledge, like, I'm glad that I have it from like 30 years of experience,
Yeah,
but
yeah. The big question is how. The big question is, do our successor will they
yeah,
need this knowledge, or
I'm not,
and if not, and if yes, how will they learn
I'm
this
not worried
knowledge?
about,
Because a lot of company, you know.
I'm not worried about that, because when has the next generation ever been like stupid? Never. However, how many times have old people say that the next generation is stupid? Like every generation. So I'm not too worried about kids being like, oh, this doesn't work, let me dig deep, and then being really into like, well, I guess I need to learn this. And they're
Ah,
going to learn it in ways that are not conceptually understandable by
ah,
us. Like
yeah,
the same
possible.
way, like you learned,
But I'm
you,
not. I'm not
you,
saying they are stupid. It's not what I say.
no, no, but like
I
it was the
say
thing.
I say like experience is going to be very difficult. Like, because all these knowledge that you say, you achieved them through your experience, right? And if
I,
they don't find any first first role or jobs or into which he can, gain experience. It's gonna
Well,
be difficult. I'm not saying they're stupid, but we lack giving them the chance to build their experience and learn stuff
well, this is how you learn, right?
outside of books. Outside of books.
Why, this is how you learn. I tried to refactor my code base with said it was kind of shit. Why? And then you learn about it. And it immediately tells you like, oh, you should work on an AST. And then if you're curious
Yeah,
little person,
yeah,
you're
but
like,
the question you asked in the first place, uh,
well, I can
how do
say,
you know it's a kind of shit?
well, because it took too long, or it didn't work, or like I didn't get anywhere. I was like, why did it take so long? Like that's
No, but you run the script, or you just said it was shit when you saw the script, right? Directly.
no, I know that if I were to apply this to a big code base, it will like be kind of shit. And if you're a kid and you don't know what you're doing, you can still be like, hey, like you both grew up in the same time as me, right? It's like
Mhm.
we had an MO5 because France was really like kind of pioneering computation at schools, and we all had like a personal computer where we could just like in the evening build little stupid
Yeah.
programs. And so we
Mhm.
built little stupid programs that were really horrible. And then you were like, I don't really understand my game anymore. I'm going to, why is that? And then you find a programming book and it tells you, like, yeah, there's something called a function. And you're like, what? There's something called a function? And it takes me like 3 weeks to understand what a function does. And then I try again and I'm like, this is kind of like, it works much, much better. But also, right? Like, this is how we learned things is like, at least how I did is like, I find a book. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just like copying the source code and then I see the word function. I'm like, interesting, whatever. And then
Yeah, I
it
did
tells me,
a lot like this. Yeah.
and we learned really fast that way, right? It's like when I was 16,
Yeah.
I could write some pretty
Yeah.
solid software, right? Um, but now imagine that you were 50 in the 80s. You had written your whole life on punch cards, starting from like, whatever was around, and you were working on like Unix, and like Unix was something really new, and you were like, this is crazy. I can like talk to other people on here, and like I can run programs and they immediately run. I don't have to wait for overnight. And you're like, well, how are kids going to learn the fundamentals? Like they'll never learn about assembler and like core memory, and they will never know how to work with 256 bytes. And it's like, it's so different because they cannot understand that you can have a computer at home and just play 4 hours and then until it works. And however, we were having fun and we were learning way faster than if we had sat down and learned, assembly and whatever. And I think we cannot imagine what the next generation is going to do because we didn't grow up with these things, right? I'm still like, I like my editor. And the next generation is going to be like, what is an editor? I just
Yeah.
talk to my phone and then I have like little apps that come out and some of them are really rubbish and I'm not able to
Soon,
push
soon
them.
it's gonna be. Soon it's gonna be. What is an email? I
It's
feel this
already
is
like,
going to happen.
dude,
Happen very soon. Like, what is an email?
no one uses fucking email except people who are over 40. You know what I mean? Like you're already like way behind. No one has been using
Oh
email
my
since like
god.
2010.
Oh my god.
It's only people working in companies with glasses that use email. You know,
I'm
uh,
fucked.
it's like kids don't even use social media anymore, which is, or they have like such weird like I hang out with a lot of kids, and I'm like I'm like I don't understand anything of what you're posting, and you're 30-year-old, and I don't understand the memes you're posting. Like I can show you some of the memes that my friends are posting. I'm like I have no
Like,
fucking idea
like,
what you're talking
like,
about.
what's like? How old are they?
They're like 30-ish, I think.
Okay.
They posted this without comment, and I'm like none of this makes sense to me. I'm not used to this. I'm used to like
It
bash.org, you
seems
know.
it seems very blurry. It seems like an Epstein's file, maybe. Look, it's black and all that stuff.
What the fuck is this?
Oh my God, I don't know.
I'm sure there's like a really cool joke in here. I have absolutely no idea,
Or
but I
maybe
know it's like,
it's glowing in the dark, maybe like,
yeah, but
phosphorescent stuff.
what is this? Why is there a
It,
skateboard? Why, like, it's a 3D printing thing, which is like wild to me that you can 3D print this. But the next generation is just like, I'm gonna do some fuck shit with 3D printers and put a skateboard on it, and somehow it's a joke. And I'm like,
it's magical.
let me go back to my terminal and my editor.
Like the big
I
question is
don't,
just why? Why?
yeah. So I think we just cannot understand
Yeah,
what the next generation is doing already.
because our biases and just
Yeah. We think,
our
oh,
history, how we're made, and
like
all
even
our
just
psyche. Yeah.
like the fact that we use a keyboard, we don't even think about
Mm,
it. We're like, sure, you use a keyboard. Like for kids, using a keyboard is fucking weird. And like even my girlfriend,
mm.
who's my age, but she's a hairstylist, like she doesn't have a computer. you know, she's like, I do everything on my phone. And that took me a long time when building websites to realize like your desktop CSS, like no one gives a shit about your desktop CSS. No one sees it ever. Because you're the only
Robots,
fucking one. You're the only
maybe.
fucking person using a desktop to do online shopping. Like you're like literally 5% of our customer base. No one cares about
Oh,
you.
and there is only
Um,
one of them that is turning a very weird Linux with a very weird browser version.
yeah, it's like, but I can right. But on the other hand, this was this is new, but it's the way to get to the fundamentals really quick. It's like we had to go to the library, and there were maybe like two books, and then there was like Usenet, and so you could ask questions for on Usenet. For someone who was a programmer in the 60s, going to Usenet is just like, what the fuck? You can talk to people on the computer. Like I this is too much for me. Like I don't I like
Yeah, it
punch my
was
cards, and then I
crazy.
submit them overnight, and I write my my memo on the typewriter, and then that's how you do software, right? So I think it's just like we're not able to we will not be able, as plastic as our brains still might be, just like not understand how this world works, right? We're at
It
this
was a
point.
very interesting, point of view that says in our modern reality, a lot of things that are in our world have a functionment and mechanism that is completely hidden from us.
It's
And we don't even know how it works. We know the input, we know probably the output,
I,
but we wouldn't be able to reproduce the tool or the device. And we don't have any clue of how it works inside.
well, that's
It's
already
like
that's been the case for forever, right? It's like, do you know what this does? It's a very, very small computer. It's like very, very understandable. Do you have any idea how this works?
no,
Me
that is
neither.
small.
No one knows how this works,
Yeah. But
right?
I said like in the middle of the 19th century, like when the most complex machine was a steam engine, I don't know,
Hmm.
maybe earlier. Most of the things were simple things, uh,
We
quite
lost.
simple engineering. No?
We think they're simple, but it's like we think they're simple because the quantity was low. Because
Yeah.
when you look at old things, there's a lot of intelligence in old things and how they work because someone spent a lot of time figuring it out. And to us, it
Yeah.
seems like almost obvious. Like if you look at the typewriter, right, that I just showed you,
Yeah.
I've got this
Yeah. Yeah.
electric typewriter. That's not
Yeah.
easy to build at all. It still isn't.
Mm, mm, mm,
It's
mm.
not easy to understand, and it's especially not easy to understand that, oh, you could use like this wire to do
Yeah.
this so
It's
that it
not
triggers it,
mid
right?
nine. It's not mid 19. I think it's later.
Yeah, but there's a
Mid
lot
19th
of
century. Yeah,
what
I think
what's
it's
really
later.
interesting as I've been reading more about the history of technology and stuff like that. Often it's the technology, like the tools, the application of technology and scientific concepts or like new ideas happens before the science for it is developed. So we developed a computer before we knew what computation was, right? It took like Turing and Alonzo Church and like von Neumann, who already had a computer, to be like, the fuck are we doing with this now that we can write programs? Or like Ada Lovelace was building software for a computer that maybe didn't exist, but she didn't know about like Turing completeness or I my words are like but so, and I think we're at this period now where we have a new machine and we don't have any kind of theory for it, um, right? And like the way we built it is very understandable, but that's like saying, "Hey, I made a typewriter with a mill." It's like,
Do you
okay,
think
cool,
you
you've
have
got a mill,
do
but
you
like,
think you have an analogy in the past of the software engineering phase, like you can compare to? In my
yeah,
opinion, it's very new. It seems like you have an almost scientific way of testing things and methodologies, workflows, and stuff like that.
I think one of the analogies is really um, the discovery of computation when like von Neumann realized you can have a program memory and a data memory. And if you separate data from code, you can write a lot of software much more easily than being, we can mutate every little vacuum tube in here and kind of make them do additions. When you suddenly realize,
Like just following everything intertwined on the same sequential.
yeah, like realizing, oh, there's a way to decompose what this hardware does that allows us to write programs and not just like turn lights on and off, if that makes
Mm,
sense, or like find clever ways of
yeah.
turning lights on and off. Um, so I think this is a parallel.
And
Another
was it
analogy.
about the same time as a transistor invention?
No, the transistor came later. Transistor, I think, was 76. Fairchild, was it Fairchild? First
Yeah.
transistor. Uh,
So
but
it's quite a long time before.
and it doesn't matter if it's a transistor or not. The transistor just allows you to build bigger machines faster.
Yeah.
But what Turing realized, or like Alonzo Church, or in some manner von Neumann, is that it doesn't matter what a program runs on. What matters is the program, and you can use different ways of reaching the same result. You can use, wildly different manners of doing the same stuff, right? If you
Yeah.
take Alonzo Church's lambda calculus, that's wildly different than a tape machine that advances. Yet,
Which is something very interesting as the time of LLM, because as lots of people are taking a lot of the time for granted what the output of the LLM might be, you know, especially on the question and domain of expertise, they don't have any clue, you know, and whereas in fact it's dangerous to have that, like just to take for granted that, because in software engineering you just said you can have lots of different ways to do the same thing, and it's not that bad or good.
yeah,
It's not just white or black. You have different type of architecture, technical choices, drawbacks, arbitrages, and stuff like that. You know, and some people are just like overestimating the confidence they have into the LLM output and just say this unique vision. You know, that is the truth, but there are no one truth. There are multiple truths.
um, I'm not sure I followed entirely, but yeah, I
Sorry.
think I think there's a lot of things like, if I understood that correctly, is like um, some people are going to think less hard about what this is about. Do you know what I mean? Like the same way
Yeah,
some
yeah.
programmers really like thinking about functional programming and why does my program do this and how can I make it more safe or so. And then there's other people who just like, just want to get something over with and just import React and it's JavaScript and I don't care too much. And then there's going to be people in the middle who are going to be, hey, there's some research about functional programming. I can write functional programs in JavaScript. I'm going to make a new library that's called React that uses a lot of what's called like reactive programming concepts and make them work in a web context, right? So there's this whole range, and I think that's why prompt engineering, whatever you want to call it, AI engineering or so, is like a real thing. It's like there's a room for people who really care about the math of things because they'll discover like, hey, do you know that if you type these 3 words, suddenly you can make a lot of things happen. Then people were like, hey, that's cool, but I do need to package it as a skill. I do need to add some things. I need to add a workflow around it. I need to make it work for like real products. And then there's other people who are going to be, hey, do you know if you have this skill, you can write like a cool product and it works really well for this kind of customers and it doesn't work for this one. And then, of course, there's going to be, I think, a lot of people are going to say, well, this skill sucks and this one's so much better because it does this. And then people will argue all the fucking time. And then at the end, it doesn't really matter, right? It's like you can write programs with React and you can write great programs with like raw JavaScript. Like, who cares? you know, it's like if you care, that's cool. Then do it the way you like. And we already see that, right? Like some people really like Opus and say like Opus is so much better than GPT-5, and then people like me who are like Opus is garbage. I really like GPT-5, and it's like, well, who's correct? Actually, who cares if they're correct, right? There's room for both, and I think that's where we'll have like a lot of differentiation as well. It's just like taste, right? It's like, well, I like to do things in a certain way. I like to think of my sub agents as little interns. And then I'm like, well, I like to think of LLM inference in parallel as like parallel GPU inference. I'm like closer to reality in a certain way. And so maybe I can break through some abstractions more easily and say, like, sub agents don't exist. They're just tokens. So maybe you can prompt your context like this. But on the other hand, like if the person gets their job done, what do I care, right? It's like if you like programming in Ruby, which is like one of the languages that I really don't like, um, then sure, program in Ruby. And I totally believe you that Ruby is the best for you, right? It's like I'm not going to argue about that because I'm too old to argue, but I'm not going to do it. Let me re-invite Pierre, and then maybe we'll wrap it up, and or maybe do some coding actually. I think Zoom is. I don't know what Zoom is doing right now. New meeting. Allow. What's going on right now? Looks like Zoom doesn't let me do a new meeting. Let's see. Yeah, I think we might be. I might have hit the limit. I'm going to do 30 more minutes of just fucking around with. Well, let's continue our experiments here. We tested doing things with a script, right? Refactoring 0log to slog, and now I have a script to kind of refactor that. And I don't know if the token counts is all that important, but you can see it's like a lot less tokens than the 47K we had before. I don't think this really matters all that much in this case. I'm actually going to do write a lot more code with 0log. Hold on. We are on a new experiment, and I'm just going to go add this, and I'm going to say our tractor refactor with script. And now that we have the script ready, I can do my third experiment, which is, let's go back to, oh, I didn't. I'm going to say experiment for use script sed. And I'm going to go back to main, and I'm going to reset this to the previous commit. Where at the initial commit, I'm going to check out the script of bookmark experiment. Oh, experiment for use script sed. We're going to check out the scripts. And we're on main, right? So now I'm going to start a new Claude code, and I'm going to say use scripts to refactor the code base from 0log to slog, and let it kind of discover the shell script, run it, and then see how many tokens that was. Because this is like kind of reusing previously cached computation. And hopefully the only thing it will do here, yeah, it's like the boot up of the whole thing is like 30K often. So you can compare. I'll have to rethink about how to present this. But it called a script, and then now it's done, right? So 32,000 tokens compared to 37 before, compared to 40s to like whatever. These token counts are a little bit not that useful, but you can tell this is like getting a little bit smaller, but it's a little bit brittle. So, you know, the third thing that I could do is like, so experiment 5, reuse script sed, and then do reuse script sed. Can go back to main, can try my third approach here, right? Which is write a Go AST based program to refactor this code base from from 0log to slog. So now I can start doing some real solid engineering to recognize code patterns, use my knowledge of compiler construction to do, some more interesting kind of stuff here. And these experiments, like this is stuff that was not really possible to do before. And here it's like a very simple kind of small code base, right? But you could play around with this on a million lines of code base, which is what my actual plan is. And I was showing this before. I had like one experiment, if you consider them to be experiments of being of using scripts to do it, and it created like 30 scripts, and it was like not all that efficient. It took me 4 or 5 context windows, which was pretty good, I think overall. But it's like I think I can do much better to do this refactoring as I did by creating a great tool for doing refactoring. And not only can I use this tool to do this refactoring, but I want to have a tool that I can use to do any kind of refactorings in the future. So this was the pull request. You can see it like took me a bunch of like tickets to do it. Took me like 2 tickets. We have a pretty detailed diary, which we could use to learn from it. So I already did this refactor, and it's 350 files and like 100,000 lines of code change. Like this is not small, right? This is like real life kind of stuff. But now I can run experiments without spending months redoing the refactor and, trying out a new methodology, and then real life happens. Now I have like a very detailed kind of write-up of all the things that worked and didn't work. I did use all of this history to start designing a new tool to do these things. So here now we have a much more robust kind of tool to do refactoring. Hopefully, like I don't know if I'm gonna look into this too closely now. What is it doing? Codebase exploration. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to take quite a while because it's like a more complicated thing. So I'm like kind of maybe spending tokens up front to build a whole tool that will then be more robust to then, if I'm in a million lines of code base, allow me to bypass fixing whatever said broke, for example, with our previous attempt, right? So here clearly we're at 30,000. I don't know. These token counts are just weird. I'll have to learn a little bit more about this. But to give you a sense of how I approach these things, like here, this is what I consider doing engineering, right? It's like I don't care about the code per se. The output of my refactor prompt is code. But what I'm doing as an engineer is trying to be better about this code process, and understanding why certain things worked or didn't work, and how I can get myself out of this mess, right? So here it took me like 4 context windows and like 2 days to do the refactor. I could have, this was a lot of like just doing like little pieces of engineering of being like, oh, well, this script didn't fix it, so maybe try another script. Like I did a bunch of prompts, but that still doesn't mean that even if the result is correct, my engineering is finished. This is where refactor kind of my technique, right? It's like I did a technique, it was pretty messy, it's not reproducible, it's not really reusable. There's like documents that can be reused, but they're kind of garbage. This is me refactoring my workflow. And the workflow is really where the engineering happens. We don't have good notations yet for workflows, but also these workflows are tool assisted. So by simply building a tool, I already like determining a whole kind of workflow, and prompting techniques and programming techniques of, this saying like, right, use Go AST to build a transformation tool. This is a programming pattern that I want to share with people, but I don't have a language to share it. I think the battery on my phone died because for some reason, even though it's plugged in, it like didn't charge. I fucking hate technology, man. It's really the worst. What the fuck? Anyway, I think this is starting to be. Oh, I guess we do have time on the stream still. If I want to do 2 hours, let me see if I can get the camera back. In the meantime, here, have this. All right. So the AST stuff here is like running. Why is my keyboard down now? What the fuck, man? My keyboard's turned off. Man, I don't know what is going on today. All right, my keyboard's back. So what I was doing in these other contexts, this is where we stopped yesterday, is I have this tool called Refactorio, which I took all these scripts in the diary that we did before. Where is this coming from? Which Claude code is it? So I did a whole like little tool that at least allows me to index the code base. And I've been testing it. It works pretty well. It has like a REST API now. I designed a REST API. And the easiest way for me to kind of start trusting this tool is not looking at 15,000 CLI output, which the LLM tells me is correct. Is like, I just want like a web UI to kind of navigate my code base and have a better human interface to verify that the software is working. And so in order to do that, I took the source code and I took one database that was indexed. I put it into ChatGPT Pro and I said like, hey, make me, describe a UI that would be good for someone who's using this tool to refactor. And I know ChatGPT Pro usually has some pretty good ideas. I took these ideas by ChatGPT Pro and then I kind of put them into Opus, and it created this bunch of ASCII screenshots, which is a way that I like to quickly visualize what a program will look like without generating 80,000 lines of React. And if we look at this document and the screenshots that it created, let me zoom in, 150. If I look at what it created, I have this huge document, and then here I can kind of see the designs that Opus made for me, right? So it has like a little dashboard, some filters, some commits, preview. And so now I'm taking this document and I'm kind of asking Claude, like, please just implement this. So I had to do the endpoints, and now I'm going to have it create the web app, basically. And so this is where we're at today, and I'm building, and actually I wanted to, I don't know if Marianne's going to be here, but I wanted to kind of show maybe a way of doing this with Storybook, just to kind of see widgets starting to happen. I'm going to ask it. Um, I'm going to ask it to add this to its ticket. So I don't know which tickets it's currently working on. Gonna have a look here. I think it's currently working on Refactorio, index browse UI, and I think Opus created a bunch of tasks in here. So I'm going to stop the Claude code that we have right now. So I stopped it, right? And what I'm going to say is like create. Oh, why does it lose keyboard shortcuts? Create a analysis of the widgets you are going to create and how to create Storybook stories for them, and store the analysis in the ticket. Then set up Storybook and continue implementing widgets one by one so I can track your progress in Storybook. So Marianne, if you're listening, this is kind of how I do it. And you will see why I like it, because it allows me to kind of have a much better view of code reviewing kind of the output of the LLM instead of having to read the source code here and interacting with a real application. That as the code gets written will always break, while when I'm in Storybook, only a certain story will update as it's working on it. And I can start interacting with widgets and doing all kinds of things while it's writing. And so that way, I have a much tighter feedback loop. I have much more confidence to catch broken widgets early, where I can say like, hey, what the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing? And so which Claude code is waiting for my input, man? Like which, I only have 2 running. There's something weird going on with this stuff. Like this is finished for sure. And so this previous refactor took like 80,000 tokens. And I do now have, however, have a pretty solid way of catching 0 log to S log that's much more robust than SED, right? So I'm going to call this experiment 006, which is going to be AST refactor. Refactor using Go tool, and then I'm going to close this. I'm going to close this Claude code. And I wonder if this guy is actually waiting for input. No, it hasn't. Okay, so it has started creating Storybook. It's creating a Storybook main. I'm going to say like a start Storybook in a tmux as well. I think Claude Code probably has something to run processes in the background. I never trust LLMs to use that very well, but maybe Claude Code does, and I'm being stupid. But I'm used to running them in a tmux, so that's what I'm going to do. So now it's installing Storybook, and currently Storybook's not running, but like soon it's going to be running. So we'll wait out for that. And then as my code repository refactor browser is starting to run to get built, I will at least see the widgets and potentially be able to interact early in the process and start like building these things, right? And it's like one thing I can do is use ms use m what the fuck, man? It's like hanging so bad that I can barely type, and then it's like losing keystrokes in between. I literally don't know what's going on in this garbage. Like, it cannot be that hard. So you can see it's starting to build. Like currently, it only has like a copy button, but as it's starting to get built, I will see more and more widgets appear here. And I can even use something like MSW, which catches HTTP calls to kind of build a mock API, right? So now we can go in here, we can see the status badge and be like, oh, this is cool, but we also have a status badge for warning, for custom, for all sizes, for no pulse. And I can kind of already see these things getting built up as you go. So that's pretty cool. Let me see when we were actually supposed to meet. Just so I don't miss it. Let me see. Uh, um, I'm going over Storybook right now on stream. And you can see as it's building up more things, it's starting to add documentation. No, this is just a auto-generated documentation, but it's adding the the MSW workers. I'm gonna initialize it. We're gonna work on all of that, and then we'll see. It will actually start creating the real React code with real mock backend API interaction. Uh, so we'll see. MSW always like freaks me out because I never like fully understand how it's supposed to work. I guess now it's running. See, because this is impossible to review, right? Like, how am I going to catch that the path is like wrong? Well, here I can, you know. It's fairly easy to catch it, and if I go to entity icon and then look at the symbol entity icon, I can tell, okay, well that looks, I mean, I'm not sure what it's for, but it does look okay. And then I have the file, I have the all of this, so I can kind of get this, and I can also screenshot that kind of stuff, right? And then get kind of feedback on all of this. So it's struggling with tmux. Maybe that wasn't like the best idea that I did, but this is I love working this way because I can immediately send this to the to my designer and kind of like have them give me feedback immediately, and I can use a tool like Chromatic to kind of start taking snapshots of this. You know, it will cover all the cases, and then it will take snapshots, and in the code review will tell you like where your pixels change. You kind of broke this widget as part of your refactor and catch it immediately. So really useful. I love working this way, and I was working this way before LLMs already, or in a way, I had freelancers working for me, and they were always like kind of doing CSS nonsense here and there. And I didn't want to give them like the whole Docker setup. And so this allowed them to basically write production code in their own little environment quickly make sure that they weren't breaking anything because the code review would like flag it. And you can see how like this is much more pleasant than like trying to figure out what it's doing here. It's also much more pleasant to say like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is not what I want, and catch it like very early on. So really recommend that technique. Um, for building React, it's like Redux Toolkit because that makes handling state fairly easy. Using Storybook, using MSW, because then you cover all the edge cases. And I've got a tool that I'm working on which takes screenshots of just the stories and potentially how stories diff, or how the CSS in a story changes versus the same element in a bigger story, to see if there's like CSS fuck shit going on. And I'm using these screenshots not as a way for the main agent to look at what's going on, but the main agent can say like, hey, smaller model or like separate agent, can you please tell me if code units is still visible on the left? So it's writing a very few little prompts. The other agent is doing the OCR and all the recognition and all of that. It can do more. It can like write its own tools to examine this. And then it comes back with 3 tokens. And that allows me to iterate on the looks of things without wasting like a gazillion tokens on JPEGs that then are going to be, it will fill the context window. Everything becomes exponentially harder when you get there, instead of being able to run like 800 iterations in a single context window, just because it will tell you like, it looks like the background's black and it should be white, instead of having to analyze the image to do it, then fix 3 lines of CSS, do it again, still wrong. At this point, you have 2 screenshots in your context window, right? Like it just goes really, really fast. Even with Playwright or other like tools that reduce the DOM really, really well. It's did it commit UI node modules? For how fucking stupid is this model, man? All right, well, whatever. I thought it used like npx create react app. Doesn't that create like a UI get in your ignore? But so anyway, you can start seeing these things starting to happen, right? It's like, oh well, this is starting to have like some fucking look, right? I can look at the collapse sidebar. I can look at this. I can start giving comments saying like, hey, make the workspace button work. All without even really looking at code, but I do start to get a sense of like how this works. And then as I go forward, these can actually start doing real API calls, go against the mock proxy, and I can really, really work on a solid basis without having to restart the backend. Now it's all like repeatable. It's just a really, really powerful tool, I think, to mess with it. I can script actions and interactions, right? I can provide like mock stores. When I start having more state, this has like a ton of plugins that I can use as well. Just has like a lot of good stuff here. Yeah, workspace clicked, no shit. So I mean, now I would just like kind of let it loop. This like storybook interaction tool is man, why is Claude Code so fucking slow, man? This is crazy. Look at that. It's like eating a full CPU core to do what? To do this? Whoa, 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 whoa. Because I checked yesterday, it's not even like running sub processes or anything. It's just like, it's just burning CPU. So it's going to continue working, right? And I think this kind of shows how bad our developer tools are to do code review as we go, because this obviously is a much better way to do review of at least UI code being built. And there's many cases where, like what interests me is like, hey, how many CSS classes are you starting to add? Like, should I keep an eye on that? Should I, be like maybe a little bit more wary of what you're doing? Um, I don't know how you can toggle the code because there's a way to view the code here. Apply grid, view the. I think it's maybe in docs, show code. Yeah. So you can start, you can start messing with it. You can like play with it interactively here as well. It's all pretty nice to play with. Here you can see, just like it's a much better way to review the code than like actually looking at the code. I think you can view the surface, you can play with it, you can be like, hey, I don't think this is a good union to do. You can kind of look at there's add-ons to view the CSS. I think they're not here. There's add-ons to compare it to the Figma, which is also nice for models. I mean, I haven't worked much with Figma lately, but they're all right. Like as stuff gets built, I just like need to go on here and just like start having a sense of like, does this look great? And it's like, yeah, this is. I mean, I trust Opus. It already did a lot with with the with the ASCII screenshots, right? And I can test like loading screens. I can test this. I can have it be interactive with like fake handlers. Um, so, and then if I do a mock API, this actually would do real HTTP calls that get like caught, and then um, you know would actually create like valid end code. So here I can see there's no syntax highlighting, so maybe that's something that would make sense to iterate on. I'm sure it will add it at some point. Um, so it's just like a really good way of building web pages, I think. And I've been using this since forever. Uh, like even before LLMs were very good, just with like copy pasting from chatgpt.com with like a DSL that would be compiled. Like this was a very efficient process of just like looking at things. And also I can make sure that this is very reusable. Um, so man, this is really going to create an actually pretty fucking nice tool, huh? Just based on hey, I did this big refactor. Can you just like look at all the garbage scripts I produced and just make like a nice tool out of it? Obviously, I had a lot of ideas um, up front, and then see it also set up like MSW with like realistic API mock data, and it has like everything set up. It didn't use many tokens, but that's Opus for you, right? It's just like really good at functional React. So now I'm gonna ask it to continue. I'm gonna go to the bathroom, so I'll be back in like 5 minutes, and then we'll start wrapping it up. Oh man, hopefully. Why is it so slow, man? Absolutely bonkers, man. Oh, we're at like 11%. Like, why is this formatted differently now? Anyway. Um, so this is what I meant. Like, I think the context window starts like really suffering, and I'm gonna stop it right here. Let's fill out. I can't even type. What is going on? Yo, I think it's dead. I think I broke it. I can't even control C to quit it. Oh, I can kind of quit it. All right, let's try resuming. Whoa, dude. All right, so fill out your why is it so slow? As we are going to pass it off to another developer. Then commit, check off tasks, backfill all intermediate diary entries as well. Look at that. It ate like half of what I typed. Man, I just can't. Like, how bad is I heard that they rewrote it in like native, and now it's hanging. Like, man, check off. I can't press delete. I can't do anything. What the fuck? Then commit, add, check off, task. I'm going to try to type slowly. Check off tasks, backfill the diary with frequent entries. I don't know why it always forgets about the go work, because I regularly have it update this. I don't know why it's freaking out on this, because go work. All right, check off task, backfill the diary with frequent entries. Then stop. All right. Has Cloud Code always been that problematic? Like, I haven't used it in a year, but god damn. At least the models are fast, but so I'm gonna let it finish all of that stuff. Playing around with the compaction as well. Like, I don't trust the compaction all that much, I think. It's crazy that I press a key and it takes like 5 seconds to acknowledge it. like, like what is it doing? Like, even if I tried, I don't think I could be making it do that. No, but don't do my diary, you fucker. I can't type in here. Maybe this is a sign for me to just like take a break here when I start getting upset at my models. It's not going to do the diary before the auto compact, right? Like, it just like ignores my instructions. It's just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to continue doing my cards. Like, I don't care about what you're telling me. I don't care that you interrupted me. Absolutely wild. Yeah, it's going to compact. Oh, let me focus on the diary. Yes, please. I mean, I like your inspector panel. I don't know what add to plan means. Oh, no, I do know what that means. That's cool. And then selection card, session card. Cool. I think this will be pretty snaz when it's done. I wonder how the compaction will go, and then I really want to go to the bathroom. Please, please let me go to the bathroom. Is it going to be compacting? How much tokens context window does it have? Like 2%? 200,000? Or 250,000? I never remember. Oh, this makes for such fun streaming. All right, so. All right, it's backfilling step 23, step 24, step 25. All right, so now it's adding it, it's checking it off, and I think it will auto compact. When it auto compacts, I will remind it to use Doc Manager in the diary, because it kind of tend to forget in the last experiments I did yesterday. I think Cloud Code itself is like very, hey, Michelle, how's it going? I'm showing Storybook, which is as it was building the code, and I think you should rewind the video. As it's building it, I see these widgets appear in real time in in Storybook, so I can kind of keep track of the app as it's getting built um, without having to review like diffs, because like I really don't want diffs. And the thing that's crazy here is that it actually does mock API calls, right? So it like intercepts the API calls in the browser and then does that. So context left until auto compact. I'm going to um, shall we compact or should we start a new session? Let me oh, this is so fucking slow. Uh, this is why I was ranting Michelle yesterday. It's like I typed 3 letters and see how long it took to like do it. So uh, I'm going to just close this. I pressed Control C twice. Like it takes so long. What is going on? I'm going to start a new Claude session. I'm going to do accept edit on. I'm going to say use doc manager to catch up on the ticket. Where was it? Ref 007 and read the diary. So ref 007 diary. Is that the diary that it wrote? Just to make sure that I'm not messing stuff up. Yes, it's the diary. Continue working on this ticket after catching up. Keep a very detailed, keep a frequent diary yourself. We are running Storybook in a tmux. No need to restart it. After each task, check it off and commit. I hope that it, according to the skill instructions for read skills about diary and doc manager. I don't trust it to actually use the skills. This I never know why the fuck it shows me that, because it's not true. I think it's the Go PLS, and then they're not able to make Go PLS work in a workspace environment. One more bad point for Claude. I'm just gonna hate on Claude as it goes. But so Michelle, I want to show you like widgets appearing. Then I'll take a break, go to the bathroom, but show you why it's really cool. It's like currently it's still reading up on the code base using the diary. It's like maybe I should have used compaction. Like this is a lot of tokens already. Yeah, this is just like not all very token efficient, huh? How did it blast 60,000 tokens? Like where? Can I do context? Oh, I can't queue stash things, right? Like this is going to be interpreted by the model. This is so, oh, it's so irritating. Like a slash command while it's running will queue it as a prompt, not execute the slash command. So I wonder if it would have been better with compaction. Probably. I don't know how it like blasted 60,000 lines of 60,000 tokens though. This is crazy. It's like already at 40% context window. In codex, I would be at like 98. Crazy. Just to catch up on the plugin structure, it's crazy. Yeah, don't use playwright. Who knows? This was not great. This is a lot of tokens. It's a lot of useless tokens. So now it's finally implementing the file tree, and it took it 90,000 tokens to catch up. Crazy. So now it's starting sub agents, I assume. Nah, it's not that bad. That's good. Good job, Cloud Code. This is something Codex doesn't do. I wonder, are they starting like work trees in the background or just like hacking on the same thing together? I think they're starting work trees because I don't see anything changing in the storybook. So that's maybe that's maybe a downside is like if you have sub agents, it won't appear until they get merged, I guess. Which I mean is fine. That's okay. Well, the sub agents here make a lot of sense, so that's cool. Then the 90,000 tokens are maybe not that important. I wonder what the sub agents have in their context window, right? Um, and I also want to see the token count of the sub agents. Or is it doing them one after the other? Yeah, it might be doing them one after the other, and this is just a plan mode. I should read up on Cloud Code and sub agents. But having them work linearly is maybe not the worst idea either, because you can see it created the file tree now, right? In navigation file tree. So now this is where Storybook is cool, is that so now it's doing them in parallel, right? Now I can like start interacting with, and this is actually doing API calls in the background, I think. Um, so I really get like a really rich mock environment. See here, this doesn't work. But it probably doesn't work because I don't know. Uh, I don't do web design all that often, so I don't know how bad it is that some of them don't work. I'm not sure, but you can see like the breadcrumbs are appearing as it's working on them. It's building the tab navigation, so I can kind of see those appear in real time without having to look at this nonsense. And I should maybe tell it like don't use playwright, but I can't even type in this. Uh, don't use playwright. It's missing half of my keystrokes. I have to type slowly. So yeah, anyway, it's going to build all of this, hopefully in parallel. I'm going to go, what was my starting instruction? It was just like work on the ticket that I have, which is like my way of doing context memory. It has, and I think for Claude it doesn't work very well. I have to rethink. I think the diary is much more verbose than it is with Codex, so it's spamming itself with a lot of tokens, and I think the instructions in Claude Code to do its own task management and all of that um, are also really strong and kind of fight against what I have. And if I look like at the number of tokens that this has, 16,000 GPT-4 tokens. This is pretty consequential. Um, so I don't think this works very well in terms of uh, Cloud Code. I don't think this was like the best idea here. Um, but it's a tool I'm learning, right? Um, so I'll have to learn more about it as I go. But Storybook is nice because I just see all of these things appearing in real time, right? And I can kind of get a sense. Maybe there's a bug here. Maybe it broke an existing uh, thing, and so um, here for this, Opus and Cloud Code is really nice. Like this would be atrocious to do with GPT-5. Um, but I'm also worried that this is just going to be like a shit ton of code, and that they forget to like use Redux Toolkit and use like maybe it's going to be able to um, to find its to find its marks. Um, but there's a lot of code to review. I suspect that, especially since we rolled over the context window and it's starting to do sub agents, that see it has like the clear and the search icon within the search bar. It's like, well, you do have like entity icons and stuff. Like, why don't you put them into the foundation? All of these kinds of things. That's what I'm going to use GPT-5 as a post kind of thing, um, to review all of this, right? And ultimately, it's also not that I really care. Like none of this UI stuff is like something I'm really married to. Not something I really plan on keeping around forever. Um, but it's just this is just like a really nice tool to incrementally build these things. And then the cool thing is that I was saying I have like this little tool that I'm developing that takes screenshots of storybook stories. So just the story, can diff it to previous versions of the story, but can also like export relatively minimal amount of CSS, and also computed CSS can compare it to the look of the same widgets in a bigger context. And I can use this context building that this tool is doing to actually prompt a third-party agent to do the actual analysis, right? So that the main Opus coding thing, I can tell it like, hey, the search bar looks off, and then it will say like, okay, well, what is off? And instead of asking me, it will take a screenshot of the search bar, and it will ask the third-party model like, look, here's some CSS, here's a screenshot of the search bar, what looks wrong to you and why, and then get back a couple of tokens of feedback from this visual understanding of the screenshot without having to do the visual understanding itself, right? So that's the thing I'm struggling with, and the reason I'm building this is like I bought a couple of templates on Envato, and when I start even with Opus, start porting them over, the CSS just breaks because the source CSS is problematic. It doesn't really fit well to React widgets. And so to iterate on like, hey, the background is off in the gradient, like that kind of stuff is really hard for a model to see. But if you only show it two screenshots plus a diff and the CSS for it, then suddenly a model can do pretty well, and it can do pretty well without any context, right? And so I'm playing with this idea of like iterating on CSS until the gradient is correct and doing a screenshot at every iteration. That's like a lot of tokens for something that's not worth a lot of tokens. And how can I best have a feedback loop that's very token efficient to do this? Because I know that it might need 10 iterations to get the gradient just right, for example. And so I'm building these things, but so what were the other widgets that it just created, like the workspace selector? So we can look at the workspace selector, right, which is like totally over-engineered, but okay, whatever. And I can see as it's building these things, they kind of update, right? So loading workspace, the workspace selector here, the session card, the session selector, and those, I don't know if they're hitting the backend API already, but that's something I can then ask to do. And it allows the front end to basically really build itself up without even having to run the back end. It's able to do all kinds of mock scenarios on its own. It can say like, what if the database is empty? What if the backend returns like an error? It can do all of that on its own. And then hopefully, if there is a common API that is solid, then it will just work. And so I used to do that a lot when I was working with random freelancers, where I would just give them the storybook and say like, can you implement this widget until it works? You have this mock API, make sure that these 15 stories are correct. And all right, I really need to go to the bathroom. I'll be back in 2 minutes. All right. Uh, this tool irritates me so much that uh, I know that when I run Opus in Cursor, I kind of get the same kind of results. It's probably more expensive, right? But um, I don't get irritated. Actually, Cursor irritates me as well. But I don't have to fight the memory system, for example, right? So let me update memory MD with key learnings. What the fuck is memory MD? What? See, I'm sure there's some fuck shit going on here with memory that's fighting the diary, cloud projects. Yeah. This is just too much. Like, I want a clear context window, so I'm going to switch to Pi, I think. Because why is it using Zustand? Why is it not using Redux Toolkit? Are we not using Redux Toolkit for REST calls and state? I mean, it's not going to be like a... See, it's missing half of my keystrokes. Like, what the fuck? Um, we do have forms, workspace form. What do these look like? Add workspace. Yeah, this is not great. I don't like this. But it was probably in the design. And then I guess if we go to... We don't have pages yet, right? Layout. Yeah, we don't have working pages yet, but it's going to create the app TSX. Good question about Redux Toolkit. The user recommend RTK query, but the previous developer chose Zustand, same as the Pinocchio. Zustand alternative Redux query. Yeah, it's like switch to Redux query. And I'm going to stop the stream there because it's been 2 hours and it's late already. I woke up late today and Cloud Code pisses me off. It was nice to see, though, the sub-agents. Like, now I understand why people like it so much because it just saves a lot of tokens. I'm really more of the codex slow approach, but then codex seems to be much more token efficient overall, I guess. But this work with codex would just be impossible, I think. It'd just be like so frustrating. So I'll let it continue. I'll do lunch and all of that stuff. And yeah, the refactor from Zustand to RTK query is not big because it's the same abstraction. Yeah, I don't know what it is, Michelle. I just installed it from scratch yesterday. Like, I have no real config with it. It's just, I don't know if it's with the terminal. I don't know what it's doing. It's really frustrating though. Really, really frustrating. Anyway, I'm sure I'll find a solution. Like, I'm sure I'll get better at this. So don't put too much on what I'm saying. I just like ranting about Anthropic because Anthropic models cause me so much pain and are in a way the reason why I don't have a job right now. It's like my colleagues were able to generate so much slop so quickly with Sonnet that I just wasn't able to catch up. So it's funny. I've basically been replaced by Sonnet and Codex and Opus. I've been replaced by AI, which is pretty funny. But it's also what's coming. Let's just like I think everybody's going crazy right now because suddenly this stuff really works really well. And however, don't see how it impacts code bases over the long term. Those who do will work at the speed of normal code review ish, and those that don't will probably hit a wall at some point, and that wall goes really, really fast when you just let sub agents run wild, right? And I'm really curious about. I'm really back to the except for UIs of this like because UIs just needs a lot of tokens, right? It's like a lot of views, it's like a lot of detail that needs to be encoded in some way. Like I don't think you can really you can use design systems, of course, to save. You can use certain patterns that work better, but ultimately, maybe you don't need this in this context. But that stuff, having worked with CSS since like the late 90s, um, it's just hard. And I think it's also just hard for developer brains to get CSS and why you cannot refactor too much of it because design is not about necessarily abstraction structure. Sometimes it does make sense to add 3 pixels where it doesn't make sense to add 3 pixels because humans like seeing things that way, right? Um, like that's something I learned working with typographers is like there's a lot of stuff in there that actually doesn't fit the rules or fools you into thinking that the design respects the rules, but it actually doesn't. Um, so like moving letters a little bit around and doing all kinds of like little detail work where every page in a book is kind of like designed on its own when people really care about it. Anyway, where I'm going to this, like UI takes a lot of tokens, but I think the core logic behind it, all the abstractions that we're using to build software, those don't need a lot of tokens. And if we choose them right, the LLM doesn't need to write a lot of tokens. Um, why is it highlighting this way? Like, what is it doing here? I can't scroll. I can't see what it's doing. It's cut off. Create each path should follow the same. I didn't write this. Is it creating stories for the pages? I should say that. Create story. Don't type too fast. Don't create storybook. Yo. For the individual pages, use MSW to mock up the REST API to test things as truly as possible. Dude, I don't know. I'm pressing enter and now it's like not queuing it. Now it's queuing it. Oh my God. Literally have no idea what's going on. I'm going to try to run it in a different terminal emulator, see if that changes anything. I mean, that would be really weird, but I mean, this kind of has to take effort because I've never been able to have bugs like these. Actually, actually, I had something where it could be the terminal. It could be that it's trying to do a get terminal with or like get terminal capabilities too often. And that kind of seems to be pretty slow on this terminal. I did run into something similar. Still doesn't explain why the keyboard shortcuts, the keyboard strokes don't make it in, but I'm not going to spend time debugging it today. I have a friend who like decompiled it and fixed a bug for himself that was driving him nuts as well, like a slowness thing. Um, I don't know what's getting slower and slower, but I think this is maybe a good. Oh, it's compacting. I'm curious to see how it continues. If it continues using Doc Manager, I don't think it will. Not using the diary because it has its own memory system. Um, I just think this is too much for me. Someone who's used to like prompting raw LLMs or like raw-ish LLMs. Um, look at this. Uh, 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 no. Oh, I'm missing seconds. Oh, how is that possible, man? Maybe it's written in Python, or in Ruby. Who knows? So after compaction, it's already at 40,000. Now it's reading all the pages, which doesn't seem to be all that many tokens. Let me check the API client to understand correct field names and signatures. All right, but this should be API slices. Move the API to RTK slices. I don't know why it missed that. I don't know why I missed it. This is something I'll have to remember. It's Claude is much more la 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 la. I'm gonna do my own choices. Codex really just like does exactly what you tell it to, which is probably also going to be a change in prompting style that I will need to really make sure it respects some fundamental architectural choices. Because now that it already built all this API and all the stuff without Redux, it will take a lot of tokens to fix it, while it would have not taken a lot of tokens to get it right at the beginning. And this is just plain software engineering, right? Like that's nothing new. So this seems to get slower and slower. It's amazing. So I'll let it run, and tomorrow we'll continue. Hopefully, we'll have like a full web page to browse our code base, view history for every little single little like type unit in here. So I should be able to say, hey, this file and this thing here has this hash, and I can its history has been this, and I can diff it. Like there's just going to be like, right, like I can look at a command and then see like the diffs over the different commits that I had it to get like all these hashes. It's going to be a really nice tool to browse a website. So it actually already has like a command line tool to do all these kind of queries, but I do want to make sure that they work on real data where I can actually relate to things and look at these things. So really don't know what it's doing here. I should disable playwright. It already forgot. Don't use playwright, which I guess should be, I should just disable playwright as an MCP. I don't know how to do this. It's not able to do it because it's like queued. I fucking hate it. Is it running? I guess it is. All right, whatever. Fun. I am not a friend of Cloud Code. Maybe I will become a friend of Cloud Code. We'll see.